Hello and welcome back to Nolan Financial Radio. My name is Chris McKinney from Nolan Financial Partners. If you'd like more information about what you're hearing during our show today, give us a call at 719-210-4242 or visit us online at nolanfinancialpartners.com. And while at our website, click on the radio page, check out our past shows, and subscribe to our program on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon Music. Though for many of you, it probably seems like this has flown by. We're saying goodbye to 2024 and welcoming 2025. For me, this is an ideal part of the year to talk about Social Security. So what are the big program changes? Should you make any adjustments to your Social Security strategy? Will those changes, how will they affect your broader financial strategy? So during our show today, we're going to discuss some of the key things you should expect from Social Security in 2025. And we'll also touch on what really is how it's going to affect you and the things maybe you're not aware of. So listen up. But before we start doing that, let's introduce our co-host, Tony Shore, who I hear hasn't taken down his Christmas decorations.
Now I thought you had until February 1st. But no, maybe not. Yeah, actually, we've taken down all the decorations inside the house, but the outside lights we've been kind of turning on still. But I need
fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It's still winter, here, so it's kind of Christmassy. Yeah. But I will take them down soon. I've just been too busy. I think that's a project for this weekend, Chris. Finally, I mean we're over halfway through. We're about halfway through January right now. So
right,
yeah.
February 1st isn't like an established deadline. You don't have to do it. So we've got ours down already. But when Tara and I were first married, we would leave up our Christmas decorations to her birthday is what I would do.
And when's her birthday?
Her birthday's in end of March.
Oh, yeah. No, I think it's in the Constitution that you have to have your decorations down by Feb 1.
I don't think the Pilgrims cared.
No, that's for sure. Well,
did Pilgrims put up Christmas decorations? Did they celebrate Christmas?
The Pilgrims? I'm sure they did.
In 16.
Sure.
70.
Of course, people celebrated Christmas in the 1600s.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. I wasn't around then.
Well, church history tells us that since, I don't know, pretty early on, they celebrated after the the establishment of the Catholic or Christian church at that point, in the Orthodox Church over in Europe, I think they celebrated Christ's birth once a year.
Right.
It didn't become the commercial melee that it is now until a lot later, but yeah.
Well, it was the Church of England, right, that kind of settled America as far as that goes.
Yes. Yeah.
The Brits.
Yeah. Yep. And then Irish Catholics and then the Europeans came eventually with the Catholics and the Orthodox. So yeah. So and then the Midwest just, I don't know, 100% Lutheran and Methodist. I don't know how that happened.
The Germans came.
The Germans came.
So the Germans immigrated a couple of times. And then we needed miners, so we wanted them.
Yes.
They knew how to mine things.
Yeah. Yep. Interesting.
In Oklahoma, there's some mining, and that's where the German people are.
Oh, that's interesting. That's why we do have a lot of Germans we have a lot of mining, and there was a lot of coal mining in northern Minnesota. There were a lot of mines, up there.
Yeah.
Iron ore. They'd mine iron and ore in northern Minnesota. The Iron Range, they call it. Not coal, but iron. Yeah, the Iron Range of Minnesota. Yeah.
There's a town called Colgate, Oklahoma. And it's full of Germans.
Oh, that's funny.
Mined coal. Yeah.
Wow, that's funny. I didn't know that.
Secret.
Yeah.
Then we have Prague, Oklahoma, where the Czechs went.
Yeah.
And they were.
We have New Ulm, which is all Dutch. We have a
Okay.
totally Dutch town and a totally German. There's Dutch and Germans there, so it's interesting.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So,
Social Security.
yeah, Social Security is our topic. So it's important because it's important to all of us. It's the foundation of retirement for so many people. What do you want to talk about? There's changes, right, in Social Security?
60% of people, Social Security is the foundation for their retirement.
Wow.
Yeah. So it is a big deal.
It
One of
is.
the biggest change always is talked about is the cost of living adjustment, because the cost of living adjustment kind of tells you how well you're going to live that year. And does that COLA, cost of living adjustment, help you get to where you need to be to buy your groceries and take care of things? So it's 2.5% there this year. So that's down. It's actually it's about average, really. So since 2000, COLA has increased an average of 2.6%. So it's about average, but it's down from the last few years because of inflation, right? Inflation is one of the things that COLA changes for. So what does that mean? So most people will go up, their social will go up about $50 a month. And so $50, that's not a lot, but it's going to help cover. It adds up, $50, that's $600 a year. So it adds up, and then it's going to help you pay some of those things that you get. So the other thing about the COLA is that it applies to all forms of Social Security payments, and maybe not everybody understands that. So there's retirement benefits, survivor benefits, family benefits, disability benefits. There's supplemental security income for some people. That's a monthly payment that provides to those with low incomes or limited assets. So even if you don't have something and maybe you're blind, you get some supplemental. Or have a disability, there's a supplemental. So that's what those are. But all those things receive that 2.5% COLA increase.
Yeah, and COLA is important. It's important to understand that. What was the COLA increase for this year, Chris?
So 2.5%.
Okay.
So right. So that's why it's about $50, because the average is a little less than 2,000. So 2.5.
Yeah.
$50.
Sure. And that's not as much as it's been the last couple of years, because we've had higher inflation the last couple of years. So that it was a little higher. But now that inflation has been down this year, or this past year in 2024, inflation was down. So the COLA is down. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And interest rates are starting to drop, and we're starting to see inflation coming down. So that's good for the general economy. And it should be good for everybody, but it's not going to add more money to a COLA. But that doesn't mean it changes your lifestyle that much, really. So because it does, it is just covering the cost of that inflation, right?
Sure.
And so the first thing that the inflation hits is your Medicare Part B payment. So that covers your doctor and other outpatient services, right? So it's the standard is $185 a month for 2025. So it was about $174 last year. So it's gone up $11. So that's where part of that $50 is going to go to is paying for that that Medicare jump. Part of that
so it's the 2025 COLA is going to be about $10 less than the because about $10 of that, if you're making the average of 50, 10 of that is going to go to Medicare premiums.
That's right. That's right. So
So you lose part of it. You gain, but you go ahead 2 steps, back 1.
Yeah, but if you look at the percentage, $10 of 174 increase is a lower percentage.
Oh yeah,
than to
Yeah,
so it's a lower percentage than COLA.
Yeah, that's
increase.
good. Yeah, and that's good. Yeah,
it's only about half a point, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so they
That's a
are.
good point. I mean, you're still gaining a bit
Yes.
in your
Yes.
take home. You still gain some. It's not like it's a wash. And I
No.
think that's happened before too, where the COLA increase was the exact same amount as the more for some people, because it varies,
Right.
but for some people it was a wash.
Right.
I remember the people complaining or close to it. So
Well, I think the government's been doing a lot toward trying to manage Medicare expenses.
yes.
And
Yeah.
so that is something that's a good thing that they're trying to manage that. So
Like negotiating drug
negotiating
prices
drug prices
and all
and
that's kicking in this year. So that's good.
right, right. And I think more and more doctors are kind of getting okay with the Medicare pricing on office visits and things. So um, I don't think there's that as much of a problem there as there used to be.
Sure.
There used to be a real big problem with that. Finding somebody that would take Medicare, right?
Right.
And so, but that's it's not as much as it was.
Yeah. Yeah. I find that interesting too, that the way it works, a lot of people get confused, but people do love that COLA.
Yes,
I think that's really smart to understand that, and it's good to get that because again, that's the foundation. That's money will be there each month, and it is kind of a reason to maximize your Social Security before you file, because the bigger your monthly checks each month, the more effect that COLA will have. Because if the COLA increases 2.5%, 2.5% of 2,000 is a lot better than 2.5% of 1,000. Obviously, I mean, it's
right.
logical and it should be obvious, but a lot of people don't think about these things when they file. That you have to figure that in too, right?
That's right. You got to figure in how that's going to work for you into your broader plan, right? How Social Security fits in, what Social Security is going to take care of for you, right? So what is Social Security paying for in your retirement? And then if you know, depending on what your other resources are, how flexible are you with that? So,
Right.
so that's flexibility in a retirement plan is key. So that's one thing that we always try to talk to our clients about is, yeah, you're going to get the Social Security. Let's make the most out of it. Let's run our Social Security maximization report so that we do get the most out of it, and then see how that's going to work into our broader plan. I can tell you that most financial plans, so clients think they're going to spend this so much in retirement, they end up spending a little bit more than they originally think, and that's okay. And we usually plan for that.
Yeah.
We have people covered. Um, and so Social Security Social Security can't make that up, right? It's got to come from other places because it's not going to get any bigger once you start it. And all the COLA does is help you keep up with inflation. So hopefully your investments are doing that as well.
Right.
Is growing within at least bigger than inflation and growing so that they can take care of your needs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what you got to make sure you're doing.
Exactly. And you as a financial professional can help people out with different Social Security matters. And
Yes.
this is something you help your clients out with. So I encourage our listeners out there to give you a call, right? And
Yeah.
because they need to understand things like their full retirement age, right?
Yeah.
And how it all works.
How all that works, how the various things that happen to them after they retire, when dealing with the government and with taxes and with things, required minimum distributions on their traditional accounts. What does that mean? I don't know. Well, I know. So come see me. So there's lots of things that can affect you. If there's tables for Medicare, and Medicare can go up if your income is fit where, depending on where that income fits in those tables. So all these things affect how your retirement dollars are spent if you're not careful. So if I've got a client They want to live on $230,000 a year. I say, how about we try $200,000 a year? And what that does is it extends the amount the amount of money they're going to have, and going from 200 to 230 only increased their spendable amount by $15,000.
Right.
Because of the way the taxes work, because of the way all the various things that hit.
Yeah, you have to do the math and figure it out. Yeah.
That's right. Do the math and then find ways to create non-taxable, non-countable
income in retirement, right?
That you can live on 230 actually, even though your taxable income is only 200.
Yes, there you go.
So that's
where that tax-free bucket of income is necessary in retirement. And people say, well, how do I do that? Or, Social Security's tax-free. No, it's not. Your Social Security income can count as toward taxable income, or at least a majority of it. 85% of it can count toward taxable income, depending on how much you're taking out. And another thing you've pointed out previously, Chris, that I think people should know, and now is a good time to remind them, is in retirement, as far as retirement income, you want that tax-free bucket because your 401ks, your traditional 401k, your traditional IRA, your 403bs, all those employer-sponsored plans that are traditional retirement plans, those are all fully taxed. Everything, the growth and the principal, when you take it out, you're paying tax on all of it. But if you have money in a Roth IRA, for example, or cash value life insurance, though that all comes to you tax-free in retirement. The growth and the principal is all tax-free because it's been taxed.
That's right.
And so you don't need to worry about that in retirement, and it won't raise your taxable income, won't put you into a higher tax bracket. And like you said, then you can bump from that 200 to 230 or whatever it was, and not have to worry about losing half of that extra 30, right?
That's right. And that's key for our clients in retirement.
That's key.
It's more about how much can I spend than how much I accumulate. Okay, how much can you spend, right? So when it looks really great when you have all this money in these traditional accounts, but you still owe Uncle Sam a healthy portion of those accounts.
It's a joint account.
It's a joint account.
A traditional your 401k or your IRA is a joint account, and I've pointed this out, and this is one of the biggest things I've learned from working with a financial professional and working with you and Tara, is that if I have $100,000, just for an example, if you have $100,000 in a traditional IRA or a 401k or 403b, 20 to 30% of that is not mine. It's going to Uncle Sam.
That's right.
I only have 75,000. People think, oh, I've got this much saved for retirement. It's like, you might as well just cut out 25% to 30% of that because it's going to the government, right?
That's right. It's going to the government. They're going to get their cut at some point. We try to make sure that we maximize that, and also create, those tax-free buckets. So say somebody has a big life event where they need a bunch of money. So they're going to pull it out of their 401k or their traditional IRA. Well, that's a huge tax event because it may bump them up into the next tax bracket, right? So that's a little challenging. But if I had that in a tax-free bucket, then I wouldn't get bumped up. And then I wouldn't go from that, 22% tax bracket to 32% tax bracket, just because I needed some money right now to take care of something.
Right.
And so, wow, that's 10% difference. If you're talking $100,000, that's 10 grand. That's 10 grand you're not going to get back ever. There's a quote from Ed Slott. So traditional IRAs, 401ks are a tax time bomb. So I like that little
ticking tax time bomb.
Ticking tax time bomb.
Ed Slott is great. Yeah,
he's great. So he really identifies the problems with having all your funds just in traditional accounts.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have that required minimum distribution. Once you reach 73, it'll change to 75 in the distant future. But right now, RMD is at 73. So we have a little bit more time than we've had in the past to move money out, get them into that Roth situation or some kind of tax-free bucket, so that when RMDs hit, we're not having to take out large sums from our taxable accounts.
Sure. And
so we can
that
control it. We want to control it. That's the thing. Control your money.
Yeah, the more control you have over your own money, obviously, the better. And that's something that working with financial professionals can do for you, especially those who are looking out for your best interests, Chris, like you and Tara. So now let's take a moment to let our listeners know how they can get a hold of you to set up that no charge, no obligation consultation.
Yes. So give us a call. We've got complimentary consultations set aside. Call us at 719-210-4242. Check us out at our page, nolanfinancialpartners.com. But give us that call at 719-210-4242.
All right. Well, we were talking about taxes. So let's talk about, we're talking about Social Security today. Let's focus back on Social Security. And I brought it up, but what about Social Security taxes?
Social Security taxes are interesting. So if you make a certain amount, then you have 85% of your Social Security is taxed.
Okay.
People don't understand that not all your Social Security is taxed. It is considered income, but only 85% is taxed. So now if you have less income, then you can be at the 50% level of Social Security tax. If you have less, then there's another level further down where Social Security cannot be taxed. It's not taxed at all. Now, so it doesn't really matter how much money you have. It's how much money that is taxable that year will drive how Social Security gets taxed. And there's
how much you're taking out of those taxable accounts, like your traditional IRA or a 401k, or money that you're using to live on, you take out to live on, how much of it is taxable, whatever taxable income you have for that year.
Right.
And a lot of people say, I'm never going to have to worry about any of this because when I'm retired, because I'm no longer working, my taxes are going to be really low. I'm not going to have taxable income. But again, it goes to the fact that what we were just talking about, where's their money they're living going to come from? And for the majority of Americans, it is from a taxable source.
That's right. That's right. And because that's what we've created. So if you're a high wage earner, you're paying 32%, maybe 34% in federal taxes this past year.
Yeah.
You want to get as much money as you can into a tax deferred situation. You want to reduce your tax burden because you probably will be at 32, 34% in retirement.
Right.
So we want it. So for those people, that's a better way to go. Now, if you're a lower income earner, maybe you're not paying a lot of money in taxes. Maybe it's better to put that money into a Roth for you. So it really depends on where you fit in the earnings situation. Now, if you're a business owner, your earnings come to you different ways. So maybe a Roth is more appropriate for you. Maybe traditional is more appropriate for you. It really comes down to the individual on where your dollars go, where they go into a tax deferred situation or a tax free situation while you're working. Yeah. And I can tell you, once you're not working, having that Roth is great because there's no required minimum distribution. You never have to spend it if you don't want to. You can always keep it there. So there's reasons to have it as part of your portfolio, even if all your money's not in a Roth. It's good to have some in a Roth so that you have that deferral, and the government doesn't care that much about what you do with it anymore, right?
Right.
So
yeah, because the taxes have been paid, so there's nothing
taxes
they can
paid.
control with that money
No.
anymore, which is good. So Social Security can be taxed up to 85% of it.
Yes.
And of course, it is like you said, it's somewhat progressive, depends on how much you make, and they may be
Right.
changing that to. I know they may be changing the amount when you are earning income from a job. When you have earned income, we pay in Social Security taxes, so that's why people think, okay, I've paid into Social Security, it shouldn't be taxed, but it is. And depending on how much you make, you can pay more or less into Social Security, and they've capped that right now, so they might lift that though.
Right. There's one big thing I really want to hit on here for people in Colorado.
Okay.
If you're a state worker, you pay, or a teacher or something like that, you pay into what we call para, right?
Yeah.
And so para is the retirement system here. Well, when you go into para, you stop putting money into Social Security. Well, what if you work different jobs? You put into Social Security, so you qualify under those rules for Social Security. Well, there's a thing called windfall elimination provision that reduces the amount of Social Security they get, even though they put the money in and earned it, based on the fact that they have para. Well, that provision has gone away now.
Yeah, they eliminated the windfall.
That's right. So I have lots of clients that this is going to affect because they are receiving para. I've got some cops, I got some teachers.
So is it a good thing or a bad thing? Explain that. Is it good for them?
So it's a good thing.
Yeah.
So what the windfall elimination provision did basically was take somewhere between 50 and 80% of the Social Security that they were going to collect, and they don't give it to them. So they So if they're going to get $1,000,
because they say, hey, you've got para. You don't
para.
need this, so we're just not going to give it to you.
Yeah. So if they qualified for $1,000, maybe $1,500 a month, they were getting maybe $200 or $300 a month.
That's crazy. So this is that can really make an impact that can make or break somebody's retirement.
$1,000 a month difference for some people is what I see for some of my clients.
That increases your cost of living per month quite a bit. So
yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Your spendable income.
Yes.
Well, and the good thing about that is, remember, it's only taxed at an 85% rate.
Yeah. So you are getting a 15% tax break on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, but they'll always pay at that 85% rate because they're getting para.
Yeah.
If you're on a pension, you're probably going to always be paying the 85%.
Yeah.
If you're 100% into a 401k and that's the only retirement you have, there are ways to get to zero taxes in retirement. It's a little complicated. Don't do it by yourself.
Well, no, none of this is DIY. You need to work. This is why you can get deep in the weeds. And this is, Chris, this is where you and Tara come in. You sit down and look at their situation and make decisions based on what's going to be best for them. And if getting to a tax-free situation makes sense for them, and they qualify for the things needed, then great. But and Roths don't necessarily, Roths are the answer for a lot of people and probably the majority of people, but not always. There are situations where a Roth isn't necessary because their income is going to be so low. If you have a low income in retirement, the taxes, you're going to be pretty low taxes anyway. So
yeah, it really depends on everybody's situation. And just because you have, a low income doesn't mean you are going to have a low standard of living. Okay. So
true.
So there's things that we can make better by making sure that we don't pay as much in taxes, maybe, or we don't spend money on things we shouldn't spend money on.
Yeah. Exactly. You got to have a plan in place, and that's where income planning and retirement planning comes into play. Well, I didn't realize we are blowing by our time slot here. Let's tell our listeners one more time, Chris, how they can get a hold of you. I know you love to hear from listeners and help them out.
Our listeners can reach us at 719-210-4242. They can also check us out at our website, nolanfinancialpartners.com. We can give us a call. We can answer your questions about Social Security. We'll talk about your retirement goals, any other elements of your financial strategy that you need some help with. So it's our goal to help you prepare for the retirement you worked so hard for. So give us a call, 719-210-4242.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks, Chris. And good show today, listeners. That does it for today's episode of Nolan Financial Radio.
Join us again soon for another episode of Nolan Financial Radio.